Hello everyone, welcome to Kata Studios tutorial. Today we're going to learn responsiveness in design, and for this one we are going to be using a banner for this. So many people have been asking, what is this responsiveness in design I've been talking about? I've talked about it in several locations in most of my business in design classes and mentorship classes. So I think it's time we do a little bit of touch on that, and then we can scale it up to flyer designs, logo designs, and other aspects or assets in brand identity design. So for now, we have that in web design. Actually, when you make different responsiveness sizes in text, images, and all of that in different breakpoints. Breakpoint is a particular aspect ratio of a device. For instance, a desktop have a breakpoint, tablet have a smaller breakpoint, and mobile have a way smaller breakpoint. So breakpoints are just the sizes that is measured based on that resolution of that device. Okay, so now in responsiveness in design, in just graphic design, it is totally different, a little bit different. So what this means for design is that we actually trying to make a work in a particular size work well on a different size of artboard. So for instance, we created this with this artboard size. Let's assume that this size is 1000 times 3000 width, 1000 height times 3000 width pixels. Though I have a lesson on sizing, on how to create the perfect sizing for any of your projects. You can check that out in beginner's guide or beginner's guide to design. Okay, so now we actually want to do this, make sure this works on a different aspect ratio. So if we get in here, we see that a client needs this for a Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Reddit. So they need it for all of this, and they need the same design to reflect on all of those different sizes. And you know, by the way, you know that Facebook page cover have a different size, Reddit page cover have a different size, YouTube page cover have a different size, and so applies to other social media platforms. Okay, so now to find the size, we are going to use Facebook as an instance, and we're going to be doing this with this second version of the design. We did two versions, 1 and 2. Fortunately, the client chose this, and we have to do a test on that. So one thing I need you to do, very simple, is get to Google and search for Facebook. We're going to search for Facebook page cover size. The same applies to all other social media, the same sizing and style, name, search filter you're going to use for other size. So we are not going to pick this one. This is not the size we are going to pick, though this could be what we may need, but this is not the size, accurate size. Look at the size we need by pixels. Okay, this is the size 640 times 360. Now, if you use this size in Photoshop, you're going to realize that this particular image is way larger than the size we applied, and which will make the design itself look more blurry when you export it. Let's try that out. So we click on Control New, and we set the size to 6. I think that's 640 times 360. So we say 640 times 360 over here. 360. And by the way, if you don't know which one is the width or which one is the height, just select whatever size you want. If you want it to, if it's actually a horizontal aligned or horizontal sized content, just use this and it will switch. If it's vertical, use this. You see how it switches text. I've talked about that in our sizing tutorial. So we switch to this and we click enable. Okay, now let's take, for instance, we selected everything here, and by the way, we are just doing a test. Okay, I'm going to show you what you're going to do before you start selecting. You see how wide this design is, and when we reduce the size to match that particular aspect ratio, we realize we will have a lot of problems, one of which is that we have the image now blurred. I hope you understand why you are facing the problems you are facing. So I'm going to teach you what to do and how to avert this particular issue. You wouldn't send a client something like this. It's too blurry compared to what we have here. I hope you understand. So we are going to close down this, and this is the problem where beginners have issues when they select a particular size from an area. Now look very closely. I think that could be presented for us in this. Okay, it's not listed here. The client actually wants us to make this size of their logo 600 times 600 pixels. Instead, I made it 2000 times 2000 pixels, and that's the size we use for exporting the logo files itself. Okay, this is 2000 times 2000. When you hover on it, you're going to see the size right there. Okay, when you hover on any image, you're going to see the file size. In dimension, you're going to see the file size. Okay, so for instance, we hover on this, we're going to see the dimension also, which we use in creating this image. You can click on it. See, 4860 times 2000 pixels. So now this is what you need to do. You don't need to create that size which we found here. We don't need this. So what you need to do is to multiply this at thousands, because it's pixel we are working on. So let's say control and new, this pixel, instead of 640 and 360, we add more zero, one more zero, 6400, and make this 3600. If we work on this size, it's going to be okay. It's perfectly okay for what we want. Okay, but to make sure the file size is not too much, like we are getting like 10 megabytes of file, like we need like 1 megabyte or 2 megabyte when we are exporting at the base, not the highest resolution preference. I'm going to teach you that when we get to exporting. What you need to do here is just to divide this by 2. So now we have it 6400 times 3600. Okay, what we need to do is to divide it by 2. It will still give us the same size as long as we divide this and also divide this. I've talked about that when I did the tutorial on sizing. Just check out the YouTube channel. So we divide this by 2. We are going to get, for this one, we're going to get 3200, I think. Sorry about that. And for this one, we're going to get 1800. Perfect. Okay, make sure we select on this and make sure we are in the main artboard. Make sure the resolution is at 300 and make sure your color mode is at RGB, not CMYK. We are good to go. Click on OK. Perfect. So now let's take, for instance, we have not started responsiveness. Okay, let's take, for instance, you put everything in here. You're going to see that it is even smaller than the size we have now. So even if we extend it, the color, the resolution won't reduce. The quality of the image won't reduce at all, even if we zoom in very closely. You understand it? So this is perfectly what we want. So now let's take, for instance, we have actually created that particular layout we want from whatever size we want. Now let's do our responsiveness immediately. So one thing you need to do first is to make sure you untick. Look at this. At the end, you're going to find there are some layouts I log so that they won't be obstructing my cursor when I'm moving other elements. So we need to make sure everything is unchecked so that we can move all elements. First thing you need to move is your background. So select your background and we move that. Okay, we moved our background and we adjust it to make sure it matches the layout. This one matches perfectly from the back side. Hit on enter and we select on this second background, we extend it. We don't need to extend the second one all together with it. So we extend this one and make sure it matches exactly what we want. If you observe, this particular background is lesser in opacity than this one. You see it here, we have a 73 opacity size, and this one we have it at 100 opacity size. Why? Is because the contents here are not articles. The contents here are articles. So we want people to read more of this, and this side is images. So we can still adjust this a little more down because the article will flow at the top side. So we have gotten the responsiveness perfectly for the background. The next thing we need to do is to push in the content. Now we can lock this background, escape. Okay, Ctrl Z, and we get back to work. So now what we need to do is to actually lock up this this background. If we want to lock it, we need to use our Ctrl and slash, but that option is actually the option that pulls out our pen tool from our recorder, screen recorder. That's why you see that naughty options. So what we need to do, let's just separate this background from there and select. We just need to select this area. Make sure we unselect the background. We don't need to select the background. Or what you need to do, you can just hide all the background you don't want to see. Okay, so I can focus on what we want. So select on this and we pull it in to the top side and we extend it also to whatever size we want. And we are good to go with that. Go to the next one. We select these two backgrounds that are here plus the CTA and we pull it in. Remember, it should be at the edge. Pull it in here and we extend the size a little. This is the first way to do it. If you want to do it this way, okay? This is the first way to do it. If you want to do it this way. But the other way to do it is you can just move in everything, resize it and start adjusting. I'm still going to show you. Okay? So if we want to do it this way, it's still okay. Adjust this one, move over to this one, move the man in and place him where he belongs. Adjust his size. So this is just what responsiveness is about. Okay, we'll do this for all of the elements until we get to the part. But I want to show you the easy way on how we can do the responsiveness without stressing ourselves. So we're going to delete everything. This one way, if you actually, let's leave this on here, okay? So what we need to do in this responsive type is to select everything, okay? Select everything. Once we select everything, drag it into the layout which we want to work with, okay? Drag it into the layout. So from here, what we need to do is why we do this style is because we want everything to adjust at the same rates. You understand? Like, we don't want to adjust them differently without knowing, okay, this is the size this one wants and this is the size this other one wants. So the client will come back to us and start asking questions that we don't have time to answer. So we adjust this one. You see how the adjustment works for this area? I'm going to show you something very quickly. So we hit on enter here and we are good to go. We make sure we delete or remove this because we already have the logo at the top. We select on this and hide this background, select on this other one and hide it. We don't want those two for now. Select on our call to action and we pull it up a little to the center and we are good to go. There. Perfect. This one or this guy over here, okay, let's unhide our background and see now. Perfectly well. So we are almost close to what we have from there. So let's check the previous one and see. You see, this blue one went to the head over the head of the man. So this is the only one we need to adjust for now. Let's check the other one. The CTA is coming to the downside and this one is also to the downside. So we adjust the CTA to match to the downside and this other one to extrude. So let's extend this one to this part. And this CTA, we have to expand it to this other part. Let's see if it's actually touching to the edge of that text. It's almost close to it, so we extend it. So, which means we need to adjust this one too. We select on the boat, okay? And we adjust it a little, like so. Perfect. So for this one at the top head, let's see what went on there. So it's aligned in the same area. The alignment at the left side is equal with the box at the bottom, but we are not going to find that possible to do from here. Why? Because we have to pull out the man's hand to cover the CTA. Let's do that very quickly, okay? And this one, why we can't do it is because of the size now, is the width now is smaller than what we expect, okay? The width is smaller than what we expect, so we can't do that styling here. So what we need to do is just to improvise. Let's extend this first and then adjust this a little. Adjust this a little and expand it like so. Okay, we are good to go with that. Let's still select these two elements. Let's select these two elements and we may need to reduce it a little because in this other size, we have it wider because we have a wider screen size. So now this one, let's just reduce this lady a little and pull her up over here and we are good to go. You see, now responsiveness also requires readjustments. That is very, very necessary. If we are making this a vertical element styling, you see that the whole thing will work totally differently because this man will go to the bottom part. I'm going to show you what that means in a little while. So this guy now have more space to shine. Remember, this guy have lesser space to shine here because we have a shorter height than a wider width. Here we have a longer height, even though we still have a wider width. You get the point? So this guy have little chance to shine because we can't expand him beyond the content we have over here. So what do? From here, we can now expand this guy because the guy have more space to shine. Why do we do this? I'll explain in a little while. So why we do this is because we will have too many white space over here if we don't do that. That's number one. Number two is because the content over here have more width. The image content here have more width to it. But over here, it have lesser width, which means it's making the image hierarchy lesser in this particular breakpoint. So what we need to do is to increase the image of this particular size to increase or improve the image hierarchy. I hope you get that. So that we have still the same content and still like, what's going on? This makes more sense. Like, we have the same content all over again in the same different layout, in the same styling. Now this can't go to the edge, touching to this edge, because if we do it, this lady will have to push a little bit left and it's going to affect the text over here. We don't want anything to compete with the content we have here because we want the content description to be straight and clear to the point. So we shift this to the edge over here and we are good to go. Just that is enough. Okay, I think that's enough. Any other thing we need to do here? We are good. Okay, so this is just how to make this responsive. So now let's go to the vertical styling of this responsiveness. Remember I told you if you want to make this vertical, just hit on this button and we create. Okay, so this is the vertical version of this thing that we just created here. Now if we want to make this responsive, we have to select these elements, go over here, pull them. It's not going to be at the side again because it won't work. We have to pull it at the bottom part. You get the point? Then these contents, all of this content from here, even this guy probably will have to move to the top. Okay, you have to move to the top. Forget about what's happening over there. You have to move to the top. And we are going to delete this, by the way, so that we can create space. We are going to create the background after that. Okay, delete this and we are good to go. So this one is still okay here, but we need to adjust the size. Okay, and the lady over here, we need to do a little job on her. Move her a little down to align with this edge. And this guy over here, we need to do a little job on him also. Adjust him a little and pull him to the top. And don't forget the logo. Okay, we delete this, or let's just hide it so that we can select on this logo. We put the logo in. Logo is going to be large. Okay, it's even small. So we put the logo in, but this time around we must make sure that the logo align with the text. If we don't align the logo straight to the text area like this, it doesn't make sense. So we select the text and we push the content to the left and make sure it aligns with the logo. Bring it down a little more. Just give it a little bit of spacing and we are almost good to go. Just adjust this. When you are done with your work, observe your work very carefully. Then this guy have to go a little down a little. Or can he walk here? I think the guy can walk here perfectly well. But just that the image itself won't make sense. So we have to reverse this image. So select on the image, go to edit and go to transform. From here we have to make it flip horizontal. Perfect. So we adjust the guy a little and we are good to go. This lady over here, we can do a little work like moving her up, extending her size a little more, moving her up to work from this angle. Perfect. So this is it for the responsiveness on mobile. If you want to use this on mobile, like a wallpaper on your mobile, or a size that it works on mobile size, on vertical, it works well. It also works well on this, and it also works well on this. So this is what responsiveness is about for graphic designers. So whatever you are doing, whether it's flyer design, you are doing for a big banner, you are doing for whatever size you are doing it, and they want you to adjust it on different sizes, that is what responsiveness is. And this is exactly how to do it easily without stressing yourself. Import everything, then adjust them accordingly. Make sure you put things up the way it doesn't stress the layout. If the layout actually don't support larger elements because of the size of that layout, you have to adjust that element. By the way, my name is Manuel from Kata Studios. See you next time.